Those folks, 3 years ago, Louisiana state troopers lied about how Ronald Greene died. They said he died from a car crash. Body cam footage showed he was viciously beaten by police officers. 3 years later, last night, a grand jury indicted 5 of those state troopers for the death of Ronald Greene. Trooper Corey York was indicted on 1 count of negligent homicide and 10 counts of malfeasance in office. York was previously suspended for 50 hours without pay as part of the investigation. He's now on leave. Trooper John Cleary was indicted for 1 count of obstruction of justice. He's been placed on leave. Former Louisiana State Police Trooper Dakota DeMoss was indicted on 1 count of obstruction of justice. DeMoss was fired last year after arresting him in a separate excessive force case in which troopers beat another black motorist following a high-speed chase. Former Louisiana State Police Trooper Captain John Peters was indicted on 1 count of obstruction of justice. Peters retired last year after acknowledging he approved use of force reports that glossed over another black motorist beating without reviewing the video. Chris Harpin was indicted on 3 counts of malfeasance in office. He was also placed on leave. Joining us right now is Mona Hardin, the mother for Ronald Greene. Mona, it is glad to see you. We've had you on the show before. You have been standing and fighting for 3 years for justice for your son. And last night, it had to be, it had to feel good, even though your son is not here, that finally these officers have been charged. Now, charge is one thing, convicted is another, but at least we're moving forward with some semblance of justice.
Yes, yes. And I thank you so much for this platform again. I must say that the emotional highs and lows was just so crazy throughout the whole day, and how it ended up. We're truly elated. We're grateful that we've gotten this far. First and foremost, we're so grateful. Here we are. What happens next and how these charges unfold, we're waiting and anticipating.
And yesterday was, again, you kept waiting and kept waiting. In fact, we were supposed to have you on the show last night, and the decision had not come down. And surely you and others were just hoping and praying that the right thing was going to happen, because all too often, in so many other cases, families have been disappointed. Their loved one has been killed by cops, and those cops walked free.
I tell you, it was so many people, men, women, came to me. They were just in tears. I think back, and it's just gut-wrenching, because they know, just like you say, they know of so many who went to their graves with no answers, for their loved ones. So this is really historical, because this is for everyone here. It's not about just Ronnie, it's for everyone, because it's the spectrum of this is just so wide. We have to keep an eye on this, how it plays out, what kind of conviction these cops get. It's horrible, even now, to find out that they haven't been arrested. They should be locked up. They shouldn't be roaming free. We came this far. We got indictments, and they should have been cuffed on the spot and jailed. Because we're talking about murder.
And we talk about murder, but we're also talking about this flat out lying. I mean, they came to you, others said, "Oh, he died in a car accident." What was it? His car struck. What did it say? It struck a tree.
Yes, that's exactly what they told us. He struck a tree. I'm so sorry, and he died on impact. That's how it first was relayed to us, and to see how it unfolded. How when we first saw the car, and we saw that the car had very minimum damage to it, hood, nothing was caved in. We knew from then, oh my gosh, yeah, we had a fight on our hands. And they said, you're dealing with state troopers. They run the state of Louisiana. We had no idea how meaningful that statement was and how scary it would end up being for me and my children this investigation.
And it was also just the constant lying, and the lying to investigators, the lying to you, the lying to lawyers, and then all of a sudden we begin to see the reports, and then the body cam, and then all of a sudden we begin to hear about obstruction of justice and the falsifying. I mean, and just constant. And this thing really evolved where it showed the sheer corruption among Louisiana State Police.
Exactly. And that's what you have to focus on, the whole picture in its totality, because it clearly defines the organized, so organized criminal activity from the top down throughout the whole state. All these politicians, the top brass, all those, there's so many entities that this network of KKK, it is what it is. We have to call it like it is. This organized criminal activity from KKK members, it is what it is. I'm not going to sugarcoat this mess. But you know, the thing is, all the dots connect. I must tell you, all the dots connect. So it's like, let's get in here and pull these pieces out. They're so well connected, but it's so obvious because they don't give a damn. They're in your face with everything they have. They truly hold themselves above the law and dare you to come and dismantle them. They dare you to come in. And it's like, for me and my family, I'm so sorry. I'm traveling right now. And I think I'm on focus. Or am I okay?
No, you're fine. You're fine. No, you're fine. Well, first of all, you know, and I've had to do this way too many times, Mona. Unfortunately, you know, you are now part of what we call a sorority or fraternity nobody wants to be a part of. And the crazy thing is, and let's just be honest, without you fighting, without the community and the protests and the organizing, we wouldn't be at this day. If it was not for your vigilance and the people out there in the streets, these Louisiana State Troopers, they would have been able to get away with this, and this thing would have been covered up by their fellow officers.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I must tell you, there's people throughout California, Arizona, all over. Kansas City, they're ready to get on there, call to action, because they're furious for the fact that we found out after the fact that these cops, that we went this far and they're still there. They're still at home. It's crazy. And so many people were just so upset that regardless of how far we get, you're still dealing with the corruption, because you have these lawyers, these politicians, these whatever they have, these big brothers above them that are steady giving resistance of holding their own accountable. But these people, I'm here to tell you, it's like, they're like, give us numbers, we're going to call wherever we have to. Call Lamar Davis, because Lamar Davis should have cuffed him. I don't understand. I just don't understand. We have what we have, but you still refuse to hold them accountable, lock them up. They should be locked up, because we're talking about murder.
Indeed. Mona Hardin, we appreciate it. Again, sorry for your loss, but we appreciate your fight and for your fight for accountability in this case, and we're going to continue to see this story through its conclusion.
I tell you, stay tuned. We're not through. We are not through. I'm proud to say. Because what we do for everyone. Thank you.
Appreciate it. That's right. Thank you so very much. Kelly, I'll start with you. You know, we've been on this story from day one, and just the constant lying is what gets me. Just straight lying.
I mean, I can only imagine what this mother is going through, what several mothers have had to go through in the course of this journey of police officers just lying about what they do to their Black sons and daughters. It is absolutely disgusting. It is just, I'm tired of it. I don't know how else to describe how fatigued and drained I am of it. And if I'm drained of it, I can only imagine how these parents feel, how these family members must feel that their loved ones are no longer here at the hands of law enforcement, who have constantly not only lied, but been protected by way of their lies. It is the ultimate betrayal of public trust.
I was down to talk to my doctor about Rybelsus.
Ask your healthcare provider about Rybelsus today.
Of that social contract between someone who is supposed to be protecting you and yourself as a citizen. I just have no words outside of me just praying that she finds the justice that she deserves, that her son deserves, that her family deserves, because of the atrocities of this police department.
The thing here, Joe, is, and this is what we talk about all the time, that blue line covering for themselves. The Louisiana State Police, they were going to get away with this. It was not until that body camera footage was released. I mean, they just said the man died in a car crash. He was beaten it. Yeah. And this is why I'm not saying body cameras are the be-all to end-all. But this story is why every law enforcement officer should always have a body camera on, recorded.
At an absolute minimum, and really, it's interesting. We watch some trials and we cover them sometimes, and they talk about how, the experts come and try to explain the context for a body cam in terms of what you saw you didn't see, that actually came up in the trial of the Dean trial recently. Unfortunately, he was convicted of something. But that being said, it's interesting how, imagine, at the risk of answering a question with a question, how comfortable, and I mean that word when I say it literally, must they have been to do what they did, to understand how comfortable would they have had to have been to do what they did. They knew they weren't going to get caught. They knew that this system was created to protect them and to comfort them. That is the word. They didn't have a minor amount, any amount of discomfort whatsoever with lying, with cheating. Tape disappeared for a couple years. Everybody was still working, and just about until an indictment the other day. Everybody's still working. They had every belief and expectation that this system that was made to protect them would continue doing so. And unless it was for the great determination of a focused mother and a focused group of people, media like yourself, making sure we're drawing attention to this issue while the tide is turning somewhat. There's still an expectation, but while the tide is turning somewhat, I mean, even in Fort Worth, they fired the guy right away. Here, these guys were still working. This mother was still paying these people's salaries and retirements, as the case may be. And so, hopefully we're turning the corner in some ways. But I tell you, if you're looking for something to do, we got our hands full on this thing, because this is a full-blown system thing. They had every expectation that they would be protected, and it's not over yet. We'll have to see what happens with the jury, etc. But at least people can see. It's not a foregone conclusion that police could never be wrong. There was a time when that was the case, and even when they were wrong, it was about what you could see. There was no film. There was no nothing. That's why the body cam was so important. That's the reason why they didn't want it uncovered. But here we are, and by faith, with faith and works, we'll continue to get where we need to get, so that these folks, the ones that are alive, 4 out of 5 ain't bad, or 5 out of 6, whatever it is, get convicted like they should.
Michael, the point that Joe makes there is it. They knew we can get away with this.
Yeah, And what's interesting here is the 46-minute body camera footage. It came from the body camera of Officer DeMoss, Dakota DeMoss, and he lied and said that he was fighting for his life against Ronald Greene. Okay, now Ronald Greene was tased 7 times with a stun gun. Okay, Master Trooper Chris Hollingsworth used his stun gun 7 times on Ronald Greene, and then also he was beaten in the head with a flashlight as well. All right. Now, unfortunately, Chris Hollingsworth died. Okay, that's the officer that died. I wish he was alive to face the full weight of the justice system on him. But if it had not been for this 46-minute body camera video, we would not be here with these charges. So hopefully every last one of these officers face the stiffest penalties. Hopefully they're convicted, face the stiffest sentences. And, this is why body cameras matter. This is why prosecutors matter, okay? And this is why elections matter as well.